Hello, and thank you for joining us for Pots and Small Spots Container Gardening for North Texas. The class will start soon, and it's brought to you by Tarrant Regional Water District, the Arlington Public Libraries, and Arlington Water Utilities. Again, thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, you can type them into the dialog box there, and we'll get back to you with an answer. You can also visit SaveTarrantWater.com and submit a question for us there if you have any questions after the presentation. Since this is brought to you by Tarrant Regional Water District, the first thing that you'll see is a short message about Tarrant Regional Water District, and then after that, we'll get started with the presentation. Thank you so much for joining us.
The Tarrant County Master Gardener Association has partnered with the Tarrant Regional Water District to encourage water conservation. TRWD maintains 4 area lakes and pipelines needed to provide surface water to local water treatment plants so they can clean that water to meet drinking standards for our communities. They also work with many cities in Tarrant County, such as Fort Worth, Arlington, Mansfield, and many others, to provide water conservation programs to the community. Conservation is an important water supply strategy to help meet the needs of our growing population. There are currently 2.3 million people living in Tarrant County, and this is expected to double over the next 50 years. At SaveTarrantWater.com, you can sign up for free weekly watering advice custom to your location. If you're a resident of Tarrant County, you can sign up for a free sprinkler's checkup where a licensed irrigator comes to your home, provides a comprehensive evaluation of your system with recommendations to reduce water waste. There's also an event calendar where you can find information about future classes and workshops. So be sure and check out SaveTarrantWater.com to sign up for their free services.
Welcome to my house or my home on the lake. My name is Gay Larson. I started out my gardening career as a Tarrant County Master Gardener in 1997. I think around 2000, 12 of us, called the Dirty Dozen, started the Parker County Master Gardener Association. I have somewhere to garden every day, and it makes me very happy. I love container gardening here at our home in our landscape. I have over 100 pots scattered out in the front and the back of our property. Regular gardening is the most important aspect of container gardening. It takes an hour to water each side. Nothing upsets me more than if I forget to water sometimes and I go back and I'm like, oh my gosh, this plant died because I forgot to water it. So you have to be diligent with containers when you water. I will show you how to be successful with container gardening. It is so much fun and rewarding. There's no need to spend a lot of money on your containers. I have planted annuals in abandoned water pipes and sewer pipes. Container planters are heavy. I usually don't take those into the greenhouse because they are very heavy, and what I do is take the plastic pot that the plant comes in and I stick it in the concrete planter when the frost comes, usually November 15th, and I'm always excited if I get to first part of December and don't have to put my plants away. They are my babies and I just do not want to not see them. Take the plastic pot out, just put it in the greenhouse and save it. Then next year, take it and stick it back in the concrete pot. Add some mulch on the top. The only thing is, after about maybe 5 years, you'll have to go in and cut the roots of the plant in half because it gets root bound. The plant will tell you by the way it needs watering. This one has 9 holes, and that way when I water it, it will not hold water. One of the quickest ways to kill a container plant is to not have holes and not have good drainage. Core material, this is what I'm using. You can cut it and stick it in the bottom of a hanging basket. You can buy this in rows at Home Depot or Lowe's, or most nurseries will have this product. It is coconut core, and it will hold the soil in the container. I will cut the excess so it won't show after I plant. Let me tell you a little secret. Hanging baskets dry out quickly. There's not much room for soil, so they get dry quicker. They make a product called water storing crystals. Another brand is soft moist granules, but they're like little moisture pellets, and when you water it, it swells up and holds the water. It looks like this, like little crystals. Add to your soil, mix it up when you put the soil in, and it will retain moisture for you. You can do containers without the moisture crystals, and I've done it both ways, and it will cut your watering time in half if you use them. I'm going to make my own soil instead of, if I'm going to make my own soil instead of buying a finished product soil, I will use topsoil, regular topsoil, compost, and perlite or vermiculite. I mix it all up, add the water crystals to the soil, and then I will have a perfect blend of potting soil, and I will save myself money. Would be 1/3 soil, 1/3 compost, and 1/3 of perlite and vermiculite. A third. Okay, this is perfect right here. You can't go wrong when you buy this soil. It's expensive, but the plants love it. Okay, always use a trowel. So you don't use your hands. Always wear gloves. You notice I don't have mine on. I know many people who have gotten infections in their hands from not wearing gloves, but I just like to feel my soil, so I don't have mine on. I'm going to add these soil in my container, and then I'm going to think about the placement of my plants in the container and how much soil I will need. If you put too much soil in your container, when you water it, the water just flows off the sides and doesn't go down to the roots. And you'll lose that plant if you do that. So always leave a little lip at the edge of your container. Okay, the placement of your plants and the color are important, I think. The texture of the plant that you're going to put in the pot is important also. In something that is long like this, to have all the same height plant in your container. It doesn't work well to have different heights in a long, narrow planter. When I went to buy my plants, I wanted my fall color, so I bought marigolds, snapdragons, petunias, and pansies. I love yellow pansies. They are my favorite. When you're putting your container together, you don't want all of your colors on one side. You want, say, the yellow on one end and the pink on the other end. And you just kind of need to mix them up. Okay, this is a spiller plant. It's a lissome, and it will spill over the sides of the pot. It gives balance to your container. I don't want all of my spillers all on the same side. When you get finished planting your container, you want to trim your core off so that it does not show. After you plant your plants, you need to remember that the soil has air pockets. So even if the soil is wet, you still need to water it in so you can get rid of the air pockets that are around the roots. If you want roots to be touching the soil, you want your roots to be touching the soil, you don't want air pockets. So even if your flower beds are wet, you still need to water your plants every time, even if it's rained. Okay, anyway, now the planter is planted and you can choose a place of prominence and enjoy it until you take it inside the greenhouse for the winter. Fall plants are in nurseries now, and there's a lot to choose from. I like alyssum because it can be a spring and a fall plant. So educate yourself on the plants you're going to buy or that you see, and you'll be much, much more successful. Be blooming probably when it's 29 degrees and it can take frost, so you can enjoy it longer. I'm going to plant these and then I'm going to put it on my deck in full sun. Okay, when you pick your plants, don't pick a plant that likes shade and put it right by a plant that likes sun in the same container. Because one of them is not going to be happy. Get your trusty trowel. In this planter, you don't have much depth of soil. I've noticed a lot of people, when they plant their containers, don't bury their plants deep enough. They leave the top of the roots exposed, and then they just dry out quickly. You always need to be aware of how deep to plant your plant so your soil ball is covered. I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube recently, and in other parts of the country, they call these containers cans. In Texas, we call them containers. This is a pansy, and it will last probably until 20 degrees. You turn it over like this. Don't ever hold it by the plant itself. And then you plant and then kind of smoosh it down to anchor it. Think about color, like I'm going to put my spiller right here. And that is because I don't want it covering my bird. So I'm going to turn it over like this, squeeze it. I've got yellow pansies, and I'm going to do marigolds here. Always make sure you have soil around the plant's base. Don't just throw it in there and walk away. You press your soil in a little in the open spaces next to the container. It really needs a little soil between it and the container to be happy. And then this is dianthus. It will live in your flower bed in a plant grouping if you like, and it will give your bed color. It's great, but it also can be used as a container plant. I'm not going to put these together. I'm going to put this over here on the end, and then I think I'll put my other alyssum, which is my spiller, right here now. So I just need to fill in the back part of the container. When planting a container, you need to decide which view it will be seen from. I will show you when I plant the bigger pot. I think I will add my crystals right now before I finish. This doesn't have much soil, so it will not need many of these crystals. Then just kind of mix it in so that it goes down into the soil. You can add too many of these crystals. For example, one year I got so excited and added too much and it hardened and stuck together. So just sprinkle a little bit. You don't have to have much. Now mix in the crystals. Thinking about planting colors as I finish here is one snapdragon. This is another plant that can be planted in your flower bed for the winter look of color, and also be used as a container plant. It blooms yellow and it blooms all winter long. You need to make sure all the pockets are filled. Okay, I think that's it. Of course, it needs to be watered in always. It will help you to know that these water crystals will help you with your overwatering and your underwatering. A good side note is this product was invented by a Tarrant County Master Gardener, I think in about 2000. I went to his shed one time in Arlington and he had bags of it for sale. And it was his design and his creation, and I am thankful for it. When planting containers, you don't have to be overly concerned about how many plants are in your container. You do need to think about how large they will become. This alyssum will flow down and grow this way, and the others will do great. This polypot is lightweight, so when my husband has to move it to the greenhouse in the winter, he doesn't gripe too much. I make sure that it has holes in the bottom for drainage, and I remember that it's black and it's going to have more water. Whereas if it was white, I wouldn't have to water as much. This planter holds a lot of soil, so I have a lot of plant choices. I have to think about how it will be seen. Will it be seen from all sides? Do I need to back it up to something, or will it be seen from 3 sides? That will help me decide on the placement of all my plants. When you go to buy your plants, you need to have a thriller, a filler, and a spiller. I just love that. That was created by a horticulturist that was over the Dallas Arboretum. It's been like 15 years ago when I thought that was such a cute idea to tell everybody. So I've used it a lot when I do a container class. You need something tall, you need something to fill in around that, and then you need a spiller for over the sides. If it's going to be seen on all sides, the spiller can be randomly placed all around. If you like concrete pots that have a hole in it that's the size of your thumb, your soil is going to fall out. You might want to put a rock or something under the container when you put it in your flower bed to lift it up so that that hole will not get stopped up. Remember, as you water and you look at your plant and all of a sudden it's dead and you wonder what happened, that heavy pot is smooshed down and stopped up the hole. There's your problem. Even though you're watering it, it's not draining out. If you have a heavy pot, you lean it over and you can take a piece of rebar and go up there and where the drainage hole is and unstop it so that it will drain. This has happened to me many times. So in these situations, you need to put rocks in the bottom so the soil won't pack down in the drainage hole. If you have a container that has small holes, you don't have to worry about that. If there's one large hole in the middle, I like to put either a piece of core, a coffee filter, a screen, anything to hold the soil in so it won't stop up that hole. But this one is not necessary because the holes are not very large and there are many holes for drainage. A lot of people don't like to buy a lot of soil to put in a pot. So they'll put things in the bottom like styrofoam, tin cans, or anything you can have to fill up the space so you won't have to purchase the soil. But I was watching a video on YouTube of a girl, and she wondered why some of her plants had not done very well. And she said the ones that had the styrofoam or the cans in the bottom did not do as well as the one with soil. And if you think about it, it's simply because styrofoam and cans don't wick up water, but soil does. So you just really need to fill the whole container with soil. Plants need soil. When you add soil, try to decide how much soil you're going to need and how much spacing you're going to need. You need to leave a pretty good sized lip around the sides of the pot. You need to leave enough room for your mulch. Okay, now I'm going to add water crystals to my soil. And I know this planter is going to be out in the sun and it's going to dry out much faster. You don't need to worry about adding so many if it's a fall planting, but in the springs, because it's going to be there a long time through the hot summer months, you probably need to add more. You really just need to sprinkle about like this if you're going to sprinkle cheese on a pizza. That's about all it needs. The crystals are for the roots of the plant, so you really need to sprinkle them on the upper part and think about where the roots are going to be in the container. Some of the plants, the roots will go down pretty far, but you do want the crystals close to the roots. Now I'm going to plant the large container. This pot will be seen from one side, and I'm going to use my purple fountain grass as the thriller. This purple fountain grass is an annual, not a perennial. So you turn it over like this. The main thing you do when you buy a large container plant is look at the roots. If the whole thing is covered in roots, I will take the clippers and I will cut the sides in about 5 places. And then these roots, when they're planted, will spread out instead of circle around each other. This one is not bad, it's pretty good. And see, look at the bottom there. It makes kind of a crusty base. Then I'm going to make a place for it. Actually, I love purple fountain grass. It's not a water hog, and it looks really good. Okay, the next thing I need is something with color, and yellow and purple go together. I'll put this one right here. This is a celosia, and it comes in pink and yellow and red. See, these roots are not so bad in this one. In fact, this one is just about right. It's important to look at the tag on your plants. Like this bright yellow celosia, this large colorful blooms for a long-lasting garden display. This says it will reseed, so I'm not worried because I'm just going to take it to the greenhouse in November, so I really don't have to worry about it reseeding. Plant in sun or part sun, it gets 10 to 14 inches tall, and it will tell you its zone also, which here in Tarrant County or Fort Worth we're 8A or 7B. That is our cold hardiness zone. I want to make sure that one is not above the other as far as the top of the soil ball. Okay, I'm going to use this one. I love this pepper plant. It's a purple pepper plant. It's called Purple Flash. It's an ornamental pepper. It will not make it through the winter, so don't put this out in the ground and think it's going to be there next summer, because it will not, but it's still a great plant. This is my tool, and tools are very important to gardeners. I love tools. I want one of every kind. This is called a root slayer, and as you can see by the sides of it, it will go through clay. You really don't need it for container plants, but it's cute and has little sharp edges. I got it for Christmas. Okay, let's see what the roots are like on this one. Look, they're just right. See, you can see them, but they are not going round and round. This plant is not going to create a problem. So you can see I have a thriller back here and 2 fillers, and now I want my spiller. Or maybe not, I don't know. I just look at it and see what I think it looks like best, of course. I tend to overplant my pots, but I just want a bunch of color, and I want them lush looking. Okay, so we have yellow, purple, and more purple, so I need something down here. That is a croton. It's another plant they've hybridized where it can take sun. It used to be a shade plant, and now they've hybridized them so they can take more sun. So I think I'll use it here. And then maybe a marigold. This is Swiss chard, which is a vegetable, and I just love it. It's called Bright Lights. It's got yellow and red, and it will look really good in here, I think. Maybe it's too tall, so maybe I won't use it. I need my spiller, which is my alyssum. So, but you could use ivy or anything that's kind of grows long. There also is a plant called fig ivy, and it's a wonderful plant that will grow down. And there's a new purslane that drapes down and blooms a double bloom. I just bought that plant this year, and it's great, and it would make a good spiller also. So I think I need to move this one up and put this one behind. So I'm going to have to redo it a little bit. I'm going to put my Swiss chard back here, and then I may not use the pepper. Let's see what the roots look like. Perfect. Does it look all right? I don't think I want pink in here. What do you all think? I guess that would be all right. Maybe this would work right here. Once you get to this point, you need to walk around to the front and look and see what's going on and what it looks like. I think the purple plant is too big. I really think it's too big. So I'll have to replace it with the petunia. If you purchase alyssum and put it in your car, and on the way home you smell something wonderful, that's the plant. It smells so good. This one's fine too. Once again, once you get it planted, you want to water it in. This planter is quite large and a dark pot, and I feel like it will need mulch on the top of it. I tell my master gardeners when I give classes, mulch is like fingernail polish. It's the finishing touch on a beauty routine. Gardening is good. It's a workout. Okay, now I'm filling up the spaces. I am kind of pushing them down, but not too hard. Really, I've been asked about which mulch is the best, and I don't think the plant knows. I've used many different mulches, the native, the cedar, pine bark mulch. My favorite is cypress mulch, and I really can't tell the difference after I use them. They all work to conserve water and heat and the cold to reduce the variation in the temperatures of the roots. Most plants like even temperatures, not real hot, not real cold, so this helps to protect them. Kind of like your insurance policy. Okay, I think I got just the right amount of soil in here. When I water it, it's not going to run over the side. Okay, let's see how that looks. Okay, this one is not quite right. Okay, it will look good in about a week. One of my favorite things to plant in the spring are my rusted water pipes. They were given to me by a gentleman who was going to recycle them, but I told him that I would like them, and he gave them to me, and I plant them in the spring to add color to my flower bed. This is a water pipe, and I also have an old pump, and it's also kind of rustic, but I also like new things too. So this needs to be planted with some color. Fire ants have gotten in here. Heck, I don't know if y'all have fire ants, but oh my, they're bad this year. I will change out the soil ball about every 3 years. Soil goes all the way down to the bottom, so I don't have to do it very often, but anything with little soil, you have to water frequently. Be sure and watch your watering on small pots. Anyway, I think this is cute, and it's recycling. Some of my pots are glazed, some have cracks in them. When you buy the ones that have the cracks, they cost about 1/4 of the price. These pots are expensive, but you can find them in certain nurseries in Fort Worth. Archie's in Fort Worth carries it, as a matter of fact, and you can buy them and get Gorilla Glue and fill in the cracks of the pot, and you can have a pot for a long, long time. A large pot like this, I chose a smoke tree because I have a place for the smoke tree that's not ready yet. So this is sort of my holding spot until a place is available. This is another glazed clay pot, and I think it's been here about 8 years. I've had several things in it, and it's kind of the holding container. This is a shrub. It's a viburnum, and viburnums get 6 to 10 feet tall, so I'll eventually have to take this out after it's been in here about a year, and I will take it out and plant it somewhere else in the landscape, but this is a great place to hold it. I have drip irrigation coming out of the back There's tubing back there, and it comes up and comes over. I have a bubbler on it, so it waters automatically when I run Station 7. What I do every year is I do a fall kiosk, and I send out an email to all my neighbors as their neighborhood nanny. That's my name, and my husband does the front entrance to our development. What I do is a neighborly gesture to invite them to come, bring their family, and have their picture made by the lake. My very first person to come yesterday was Dottie Woodson, so that made me happy. She wanted to bring her twin daughters to have their picture made. I bought mums at a wholesale nursery, and then I needed pumpkins, and I couldn't find them in Weatherford. I talked to Ken Norman, my friend in the nursery industry, and he said, you need to go to Green's Produce in Arlington and buy your pumpkins. So I went to Green's and I got the pumpkins, and then my friend Sharon Nice, who is a Tarrant County Master Gardener, came and helped me design this. The bales of hay came from Ellen Woodward, who is a Parker County Master Gardener with me. Her son bales hay for a living. Every year I get my hay from him and set this up. And so you sit down here with your family and you can have your picture made by the lake. It makes me very happy to share.